Hi there, my name is Sierra. If you're new, welcome to my channel. I am an American expat currently living in Mauritius, and on my channel, I talk about topics related to being an expat here on the Isle of Maurice, also known as Mauritius, and I also cover other expat related topics as well. If you are returning, I know that it has been a while since I put out a video. I actually was sick for the entire month of November with COVID. And in December, I healed in just enough time to make it over to Paris and celebrate my birthday. Now for today's subject. I noticed that there's been a lot of traction on my previous video about what's life like as an expat here in Mauritius. So I thought that for today, I would go ahead and do a bit of a part two to that and just address a few more topics related that I think a lot of expats could benefit from. There's been some experiences that I've had since that video was put out, and I feel like I have some more useful information to provide. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into number one for today. First up is the all-in-one form. If you are from the United States, then this is pretty much the same thing as a landing pass. As an expat, when you arrive in Mauritius, or if for some reason you leave and you come back, each time you need to be able to submit a form electronically, which is this all-in-one form. Now, you can access this form on mymauritius.travel. Once you fill it out electronically, it will be emailed to you as a PDF. From there, it is advised that you print it off, sign it, and bring it with you to the airport. If for some reason you forget to do this step, previously in December, when I was returning to Mauritius from Paris, I noticed that there were some QR codes at the airport where I was able to go ahead and fill out the all-in-one form after scanning the code, and I was able to use it that way. But it is advised to try to do all of this in advance because I can't guarantee that those QR codes will be available if you should try to do this in the future. So just keep in mind that an all-in-one form is going to be required, and it is best to try to get this squared away before you arrive in Mauritius. Okay, so the number two topic that I am going to address today is asked quite frequently when it comes to the premium visa, and that is, will you need to purchase a return flight at the same time of applying for the premium visa? The answer is yes, guys. It is part of the application process. Now, it's not enough to just say, yeah, I plan on leaving at the end of that. You need to provide some evidence. So my advice to you would be purchase a return flight from a company that will allow you to make an adjustment if you decide that, okay, well, I'm getting towards the end of my premium visa duration and I know that I have this return flight, but I think I might want to reapply or renew. All right, guys, number three on today's list is about public transportation times and costs in Mauritius. Now, the great news is there are tons of buses here that service all throughout the island, and we typically see a lot of these buses start from 5:30 a.m. and go until about 8 p.m. in the evenings. However, in some particular areas, we can see services end at around 6 p.m. So it is very important to check that in advance to make sure that you will have some options. Now, in regards to the prices, as far as what I've observed, I've seen prices as low as maybe 35 Mauritian rupees up to 45. Roughly, this is an estimate. To convert that and give you an idea in USD, that's like 78 cents to about $1 in a cent. So it's pretty economical. Now, what I typically use is the Metro Express train, which is similar to a light rail. If you're familiar with that term, it's just a train that runs above ground. It's very quiet. It will get you to places quicker than what the bus will. That's the thing about the buses here in Mauritius. They run. The journey is usually not quick. So the train will substitute for that, but it doesn't have as many stops as the buses. So it's up to you, but the train does start as early as around 6 a.m. in the morning and typically ends around, I want to say 7 p.m. at the time of making this. However, on the Currapip to Port Louis line, we've seen those times become a bit extended into the evenings on Fridays and Saturdays, ending at about 9 p.m. But always check before you ride because things are subject to change. All right, guys. So number 4 for today is a bit of a subjective question, and I'm a little bit hesitant to answer it, but I'll do this the best way that I possibly can. And there's a little story time here as well. Now, the question is, do you need to know French before you come to Mauritius? The short answer is no. You can speak English, but I took that in the literal sense, and I kind of found out that it wasn't exactly true in some cases. But let me further elaborate. So when I first came to Mauritius, I actually settled in the north where there's a lot of tourist attractions, and thus many of the businesses there cater to the general public. They do speak a lot of English, but even still, I could sense that French and Creole were the preferred. Now, after some time, I moved from the north and settled in the center where I currently live, and quickly realized that French and Creole were the preferred languages. And when I go into establishments here in the center and I speak English for the most part, am I able to be accommodated? Yes. However, there are some instances now where I have found myself in a bit of some uncomfortable situations. Let me further explain. In healthcare in particular, I remember one time I wasn't feeling well and I called a drugstore to see if they had a particular item in stock. And after leading with bonjour and going into a slow introduction about what it was that I needed in English, I was hung up on. And I remember going to this drugstore in person and trying to communicate further, and was kind of just told, sorry, no, we don't have it. And it was kind of like, I don't know, I felt like I was being they were pushing me off because I wasn't able to communicate in French or Creole. There was another situation where I went to this place that kind of was like a hospital setting, and the receptionist did not speak English, and I wasn't able to communicate fluently in French or Creole. And it was very difficult. And she tried to push me off by just telling me to call a phone number and get help that way. And it felt like exactly that, like she was pushing me off. And I knew that calling this phone number was going to make things more difficult for me. So basically, someone at the hospital had overheard and eventually was like, this child is not going to leave. Let me come over here and try to intervene. And that is how I found help in that situation. It's, I guess, underlying meaning there, or underlying tone that basically says that there are people here that are willing to help. If you find yourself in a sticky situation sometimes. So I'm not trying to scare anyone. A big thing to note is you do or will need some local friends at some point. This This is a rule I think every expat should understand. It just will make your stay a lot more peaceful and enjoyable. It could be tempting to just kind of cling to expats because they understand, they can empathize with you, but it is not a substitute for interacting with locals. You need them. You need them. You need them. So keep that in mind. And again, I'm not trying to scare anyone that's not bilingual or knows multiple languages. Still come. But if you plan on being here for an extended period of time and maybe venturing from the north, do know that it will help your experience or enhance it if you are open to learning a bit more in regards to French and Creole. So number 5 on today's list is a service that I feel like before you come to Mauritius, if you are aware of it, you can prepare a bit more accordingly. And this service is called Juice. Juice, if you are from the United States, is similar to a Zelle or a Cash App. Basically, there are a lot of businesses here, whether they be online businesses or in person. Sometimes these establishments have the ability to accept the major credit cards, but sometimes they don't. Okay. However, they may have the option to receive funds through something called Juice. Now, Juice, if you have an account here, a Mauritian account through, I believe it's MCB Bank, and it will allow you to basically quickly send funds or receive funds. If you plan on coming here and for an extended period of time, you definitely want to make sure that you get Juice at some point because it will make your life a lot easier. It also is very handy when it comes to making rent payments, because if you're coming from overseas and you're trying to send money from your account through an international wire transfer, doing this is very complicated. It takes a long time. There's a lot of things that can go wrong with that. So the best option is to try to come here once you arrive and look into getting a bank account, and specifically look into getting Juice, so that when you're trying to make payments, you'll have this service, and I promise you it'll make your life a lot easier. All right, so number 6 on today's list is short and sweet. The question is, can you apply for the premium visa while being in Mauritius on the tourist visa? According to the EDB website, the answer would be yes. And this is actually the route that I chose. I came to Mauritius and I received the tourist visa when I arrived at the airport. And this allowed me time to kind of scout the island and get a feel for the different areas before I applied for the premium visa. I hope that answers your question. Number 7 on today's list. Seriously, guys, if I had a nickel for every time I was asked this question, or the amount of times that I see it in Facebook groups, I understand the concern. Well, let me just go ahead and put the question up. Okay, what's the weather like in blank month in Mauritius? Okay, here's the thing, you guys. This is a tropical climate. It is always going to be on the hotter side, no matter what. Especially if you're a person from the outside looking in. It's always going to feel hot for the most part. When it comes to rain, because it is tropical, there are a few times throughout the day that you could expect a shower. One thing that I have found out the hard way is no matter how beautiful and sunny it may look on your way out during the morning, there is a chance that a shower will meet you at some point. So it is very important to always have like a small tote umbrella, because it's very unpredictable when the rain will come, regardless of what the forecast may say. Now, the only time I would say that you should take the forecast into consideration would be during the months where Mauritius is expected to get cyclones, which I believe is between November to April. roughly. So if they are predicting a cyclone, obviously you want to take heed. There can be multiple weather experiences felt throughout the island. But typically during the summer, it's going to be hot. During the winter, it's going to be hot. But I did experience when I left the north and located to the center of the island that there was a bit of a difference when it comes to the winter time. It could get as cool to the point where you may need to put a hoodie on, and this is coming from a North American point of view. However, it has never gotten to the point where I have actually had on a down coat. Uh, I've seen some locals with down coats, but for me, because of what I am very used to, coming from the West and what that cold can feel like, a hoodie is, to be recommended if you're coming during the winter months. You get more towards the center. I hope that answered your questions regarding the weather. It's gonna be hot to warm. Dress for the summer. You're coming in the winter. Maybe pack a hoodie. And always have a tote umbrella as well. And now we are on number 8, which brings us to food prices. My experience with food prices here in Mauritius has been a bit of a sliding scale. It could definitely get really expensive for a week's worth of food for one person like myself. It is not uncommon to come out with a bill which mirrors my same bill from Washington, D.C., where I lived previously. That bill could be anywhere from 70 to 80 USD. Now, this is an island, so it is important to remember that a lot of things are imported. I also want a lot of the viewers here to know that there are plenty of markets here in Mauritius where you can buy a lot of local source vegetables and fruits. Some of them are even imported, but overall, the prices are going to typically be lower than that at the supermarkets. It's just sometimes it's easier to get everything all at one time, which is why my bill, I think, is typically more on the expensive side. But if you're not in a rush and you want to take your time and you want to get that bill down, go to the markets, get your produce, try to get as much of your food as you possibly can, and then use the supermarkets for the one-off items that you're not able to get from the markets. All right, number 9 on today's list is how do you make expat friends while in Mauritius? Now, this may seem pretty straightforward at first. It's an island destination. It's popular. There's this attractive visa that would naturally make a lot of expats want to come here. But I've learned in my time while being in Mauritius that there is a bit of a science to finding the people that are from overseas and interested in the same things that you are. And it's not always easy to find them. In other words, they're not just going to show up at your door. You need to be a bit proactive about this. So my first recommendation for you, if you find yourself as an expat and looking for some fellow expats, would be to go to expad.com. On this site, you will find tons of forums that will answer your frequently asked questions in regards to settling here and where to go, how to do, and where to find. And also on this website, you will find many expats reaching out saying that they want to meet up, they want to make friends, and you can send messages and try to arrange something. Always be precautious and do your research, obviously. And in addition to that, expat.com will also host their own meetups to encourage expats to get together throughout the island. They have them in multiple places. So it's a great place to get some invites, make some friends, find out a lot of answers to frequently asked questions. In addition to expat.com, I also want to recommend Facebook because I see that Mauritius as an island is very active on this social media platform, and there are groups on there where you will be able to find answers to a lot of your questions. You will get invites to a lot of meetings that may pique your interest, from anywhere from hiking to special dietary groups. Like, that's how I found my plant-based group, for example. The takeaways from this particular topic would be expat.com and Facebook. Use these resources heavily to get a lot of answers to your frequently asked questions, and also to find people that may be interested in the same things that you are. Okay, everyone, if you stayed with me today, I just want to say thank you. I know, again, it's been a while since I put a video out, so this is a bit of a long one, but let's go ahead and jump into number 10 for today. This is a question that I get DM'd about quite often, so you guys are very excited about it, but my answer is going to be quite short and sweet because I do not work for the Economic Development Board here in Mauritius, which is where you need to ultimately go if you are interested in finding out more information on how you can start a business here in Mauritius. The great news is the economy is booming, and there are many opportunities to come here and to invest. Ultimately, you should go to the Economic Development Board site and you will find a plethora of information there. If you are interested in the food industry, if you're interested in hospitality, there are many options on the site and a lot of useful information. And there is also something where you can click and you can tell them more about the project that you want to start. And that is ultimately where I would suggest you go, and then just speak with someone that is from the inside that can give you all of the official information, and you can go ahead and get started from there. Thank you so much if you stayed with me throughout all 10 tips and frequently asked questions today. If you have any questions or any comments, please go ahead and add them in the comment section below, and I look forward to reading them and responding. Thank you so much, and I look forward to bringing you some more content soon. Ciao.